St. Ninian's Isle is a small tidal island connected by the largest active tombolo in the UK to the southwestern coast of the mainland, Shetland, in Scotland. The tombolo, known locally as an ayre from the Old Norse for gravel bank, is 500 meters long. During the summer the tombolo is above sea level and accessible to walkers. During winter, stronger wave action removes sand from the beach so that it is usually covered at high tide, and occasionally throughout the tidal cycle, until the sand is returned the following spring. Depending on the definition used, St. Ninian's is thus either an island or a peninsula. It has an area of about 72 hectares. The nearest settlement is Bigton in the parish of Dunrossness on the South Mainland. The important early medieval St. Ninian's Isle treasure of metalwork, mostly in silver, was discovered under the church floor in 1958. Many seabirds, including puffins, visit the island, with several species nesting there. History. As its name suggests, the island has ecclesiastical connections, which may, like others in the Northern Isles, Hebrides and Faroes, have connections to the cults of Papa. However, the island's history is far older than Christianity, and Neolithic graves have been found within the walls of the chapel. The ruins of a 12th century chapel can still be seen near the end of the tombolo. The dedication is to Shetland's patron saint, the enigmatic St. Ninian of Galloway, who is also widely venerated on the nearby Orkney Islands, and may be commemorated in the name of NordNordWest. In 1958, an excavation found a hoard of 8th century silver in the chapel grounds under a stone slab in a wooden box, which caused a renewed archaeological interest in the island. It was suspected to have been buried to hide it from, or stolen in, a Viking raid. The remains of a pre-Norse chapel were also found, which may indicate some kind of culty presence. The last family to live on the island, that of Henry Leask, left the island in 1796. Henry Leask was married twice and had 13 children. St. Ninian's Isle treasure. The St. Ninian's Isle treasure was discovered under a cross-marked slab in the floor of the early St. Ninian's Church on the 4th of July 1958 by a local schoolboy, Douglas Coutts. Coutts was helping visiting archaeologists led by Professor A.C. Odell of Aberdeen University to dig on the isle. The silver bowls, jewelry and other pieces are believed to date from approx. 800 AD. Professor Odell, writing in December 1959 in Antiquity magazine, recounts that, "The church on this site was described early in the 18th century as being still venerated by local people, although it had been abandoned at the Reformation in favor of a more central parish church." From the sandy spit which has formed between the mainland and the isle, gales have carried sand and this, together with the accretion of a graveyard in use until c. 1850, buried the church remains, and all knowledge of its exact location had vanished from living memory. At the occasion of the First Viking Congress in 1951, Dr. W. Douglas Simpson suggested a search might prove rewarding, and this was undertaken in 1955 by a party of my students under my direction. The results in this and succeeding years have exceeded expectations. The medieval building with its massive mortared walls, main altar and a side altar had made the excavation noteworthy before the 4th of July 1958, when the hoard was discovered, close to the southern chancel arch foundation, and missed by inches by later burials, was found a broken sandstone slab, 10.5 in by 15 in, lightly inscribed with a cross, and below this was the hoard. It had been contained in a large box of which a few splinters, impregnated with metal salts, had escaped decay. The bowls were upside down and the brooches and other objects dangled together, showing it has been hurriedly carried and buried with the top down. In with the objects was the porpoise jawbone, and this, the only non-metallic object, is strong evidence of its ecclesiastical connection. Although the brooches suggest a secular link, the treasure is the best survival of Scottish silver metalwork from the period, some pieces gilded. As Professor Odell says, there were pieces for secular use, such as a series of different penannular brooches and different shapes from sword scabbards, pieces which might have been used for religious ceremonies and rituals like the bowls, spoons, and thimbles, and all of those joined with some pieces of unsure meanings like the heavy ring chains or collars, which are referred to as power symbols of Pictish chieftains by some scholars. The brooches show a variety of typical Pictish forms, with both animal head and lobed geometrical forms of terminal. Two of the scabbard shapes and a sword pommel appear to be Anglo-Saxon pieces, probably made in Mercia in the late 8th century. One has an inscription with a prayer in Old English. One of the mounts has a triple spiral design. We know of exchanges of gifts between Anglo-Saxon and Pictish rulers, and generally weapons are among the objects which travelled most widely in the early medieval period. The treasure was donated to the National Museum of Antiquities of Scotland in 1965-6 and is currently in the Museum of Scotland in Edinburgh, whilst replicas are held by the Shetland Museum.